The roast chicken sat untouched at the center of the table, steam curling into the warm light of the chandelier. Laughter had filled the air just seconds ago, but now, silence pressed down like a weight. Captain Elena Moore's fork slipped from her trembling hand as the faint crackle of her radio cut through the hum of her family's voices. Then came the words that froze her blood. "Captain, frost line in effect. Before I tell you what happened next, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love knowing who's listening." Her father's eyes narrowed, old soldier's instincts flashing in his expression. Her younger brother, halfway through a story, stopped mid-sentence. The family had learned not to ask questions when that call came. Still, the weight of their stares burned into Elena's skin. She had promised them peace, promised that her service days were behind her. But promises have a way of being tested when the world shifts in a single heartbeat. The room seemed smaller, every sound amplified. The ticking clock on the wall, the faint scrape of her mother's knife against the plate, her own heartbeat thundering in her ears. Elena rose slowly, her chair legs screeching across the hardwood floor. She looked at her family, memorizing every detail, the creases of her mother's worry, her father's unspoken pride, her brother's confusion. She wanted to say something, anything, but all she managed was a whisper. "I have to go." She thought she'd left that life behind. She thought she'd never see the code again. She was wrong. Outside, the night air was sharp, carrying the scent of wet earth. Her car waited at the curb, but she hesitated. In that hesitation lived the moral storm. To leave her family again, knowing the burden it placed on them. Or to obey the call that had defined her for years. For a fleeting second, she almost turned back, but then came the memory of why Frostline mattered. Years ago, she had seen villages emptied by silence, communities swallowed by an unseen hand. Frost line was the code for containment, the invisible threat that could move faster than sound, colder than mercy. To ignore it was to let others pay the price she once vowed to carry. The drive was a blur of headlights and shadows. Her thoughts collided with images of her brother's disappointed eyes and the faces of soldiers she had lost. By the time she reached the command center, steel walls rising like a fortress against the night, her hesitation had hardened into resolve. Inside, the room buzzed with urgency. Maps flickered on screens, voices overlapped, boots struck against the floor in restless cadence. And then, silence, a silence that spread like a ripple when she entered. One soldier, barely 20, straightened and saluted. Another whispered. She came. The weight of expectation pressed down on her shoulders, but it steadied her. The mission brief unfolded like a storm. A breach in the northern perimeter, the kind of cold that kills without sound. Her unit moved as one, a tide of discipline and determination. The roar of engines, the synchronized click of weapons locking into place. It was the music of duty, the heart of it. Elena stood unflinching. Each order she gave was measured, her voice calm even as the frost-laden wind bit at their faces. Her soldiers mirrored her courage, forming a wall of resolve against the advancing threat. And when the breach was sealed, when the danger was pushed back into silence, a murmur spread through the ranks. Then came the applause, not thunderous, but steady, like the heartbeat of a people reminded of hope. Yet when she returned home, hours later, the table was still set. Plates were cold, glasses half full, candles burned down to pools of wax. Her family had waited. Her mother touched her hand, her father met her eyes with wordless respect, and her brother finally understood. Duty wasn't abandonment. It was sacrifice, because courage isn't the absence of fear. It's answering the call, even when it costs everything. And in that quiet dining room, where dinner had once been interrupted by a crackling radio, warmth returned. The roast chicken had grown cold, but love had not. So remember this. Kindness doesn't vanish. It waits, and it finds its way back. If this story moved you, share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of courage, sacrifice, and the moments that change everything.